The stage was gleaming under the studio lights, polished, cold, and prepared for drama. Cameras hummed as they locked into position. The broadcast was live, prime time, and the guest was Mohamed Salah, one of the most admired footballers in the world. He entered to warm applause, smiling with quiet humility, his hands tucked into his lap as he took his seat. His fame didn't need to be announced. It trailed behind him like a shadow, earned not just through talent, but through discipline, silence, and dignity. The host, a veteran of controversial interviews, sat across from him, flipping through cue cards with a knowing grin. He was famous for his provocations, the kind that trended online and stirred headlines. Tonight would be no different. The first few questions were safe: childhood memories, early games in Egypt, life in Liverpool. Salah answered patiently, never rushing, his voice even and thoughtful. But then, the tone shifted. The host leaned forward, a smirk tugging at his lips. His next question came sharp, about money, not football, about luxury, not legacy. He questioned Salah's generosity, mocked his accent subtly, and poked fun at his humility like it was an act. The audience murmured. The cameras caught everything. He pulled up a tabloid headline, twisting a charity act into a PR stunt. He compared him to European players, questioning his intelligence, his origins, and even his beliefs. The jabs weren't overt, but they were laced with something venomous: condescension. The crowd grew uneasy. Salah didn't move. He didn't interrupt. He didn't snap back. He listened, eyes locked, posture calm. His silence wasn't surrender. It was a choice. And then, after the host had said too much, Salah simply sat forward and began to speak. He spoke not about money, fame, or insult. He spoke of responsibility, how millions of children from small towns in Africa and the Middle East watched him not just for goals, but for how he behaved. He spoke of how pride wasn't in trophies, but in staying kind when it was hardest. He told a story about a day he visited a village school and a boy ran up to him barefoot, not to ask for a selfie, but to say thank you for proving that someone like him could matter. He never mentioned the host. He never returned the insult. But his words hollowed out the air in the studio. There was no need to raise his voice. The truth had its own volume. The audience fell quiet. Even the host's smirk faded. There was nothing to mock anymore. When the segment ended, the applause wasn't thunderous. It was reverent. People stood not in excitement, but in respect. That night, clips from the interview exploded online, but not the host's taunts. It was Salah's grace that flooded the timelines. His calm became a kind of protest, his restraint a kind of roar. Celebrities reposted it. Activists quoted it. Even rival players expressed admiration. The host issued no apology, but he didn't have to. The world had already judged the moment. Salah never spoke of it again. He returned to training the next morning, just as he always did. No tweets, no interviews. His silence, once more, said everything. And that's how, on live television, a man tried to humiliate Mohamed Salah, but ended up elevating him instead.